episode of the Jenn Commandments podcast. I am your host, Jenn Wien. I'm an engineer currently working in Wisconsin. I grew up in the Chicagoland area, and I went to college in Michigan. Hey, how are y'all doing? I hope you're doing well. I hope this week has treated you with clarity and the words to say that clarity. Because that's what the week gave to me. And I don't know. I feel, listen, what I wrote in my notes here is I've had quite the week. At the end of it, I'm feeling sad, relieved, and proud of myself. I feel really hopeful for what the future holds today. And I think that's more than what I could say yesterday. So that's all I can do. Today, we're going to be talking about the 2006 movie, The Breakup, featuring Jennifer Aniston and Vince Vaughn. Before we get into the analysis of the video or of the movie itself, I want to just talk a little bit about how important The Breakup, the movie, is to me. I think I saw it for the first time when I was, I don't know, like teenage age. And it was, if I had to guess, I was going through it. And we was in the Video Village in Stager. And I asked to rent it. And I immediately was like, this is such a transformative movie for me. I think really being able to see that dynamic and being able to watch a woman walk away from that dynamic, a dynamic that's not necessarily bad, but isn't necessarily good either. I think it just ingrained such a very important lesson for me from such a young age. And that's silly to say about just like this 2006, like, I don't know, throwaway dramedy, you know? But I do feel that way about it. I do feel like when I saw it when I was like, I don't know, 14 or 15, it really helped me understand what I won't be doing in my adulthood. Like, if I get to a point where I'm starting to feel like I have to translate myself for the sake of keeping a relationship going in any context, then I'm already doing too much, you know? So that's sort of the introduction into this analysis. Is this movie means so much to me. It always has. Whenever I forgot to put chapstick or anything on before I started this. Whenever I'm going through anything like that, where I'm making a decision about whether somebody's capacity is compatible with my capacity, I grieve by watching this movie. Just because in a lot, like, listen, we're going to get into it. There is a lot of the movie is spent doing like ego-driven passive aggression. However, at the core of these dynamics is very real and very concrete issues that I think that probably a lot of women have with men, and likewise, like, probably a lot of men have with women. And to see it so clearly and have that as sort of like a, what's the right word, to have it as some sort of guidepost into my adult. I know it's just a movie, but I took a lot from it from such a young age. And so I don't know, that's how, when we're going to do this analysis, know that this has been such an important piece of work for me for such a long time, for such a big part of my life. So that's that on that. So let's start at the beginning of the movie. So Gary is the male protagonist played by Vince Vaughn. And it starts with Gary and his best friend at a Cubs game, who it should be mentioned that his best friend is a Sox fan. Okay. And they're not even like at a Cubs versus Sox game. They are at a Cubs game, and his best friend showed up in Sox gear. Okay. That is important. Um Gary notices a woman, the woman protagonist, played by Jennifer Aniston. Her name is Brooke throughout this movie, that he finds attractive down the row, and he buys hot dogs as an excuse to talk to her once, despite the fact that she's clearly there with another guy. This dude is the type who has an undercut with a visor and his Cubs polo tucked in to the Saturday Cubs game. Okay. Imagine straw imagine strawberry blonde, undercut, visor, and homeboy tucked. Tucked not in the drag way. Okay. Tucked as in like tucked in shirt on a Saturday. Okay. Um and Vince Vaughn, or Gary, immediately, as they're leaving the field after the game, tells Brooke, hey, unless you're going to marry Visor, dude, let's go on a date. So then he's very insistent, even from the beginning. And from there, we see this big montage of them falling in love throughout what looks like many years, right? And um what's really interesting to me about this montage is there is a lot of like sporting events where there looks like there is heavy drinking, events that look like they are constantly surrounded by their mutual friends, while there are times where there are pictures and whatever alone. A lot of their time spent together is integrated time with others. Okay. That's just something to be noted. For me, for you, for whatever. Then after this montage and after we get the title sequence and whatever, we're we enter when Gary enters their condo. And Gary's entering their condo with a grocery bag. And when he enters, we notice that Brooke is looking stunning as always, right? Um, and she's like frantically cooking dinner. Um, Gary walks in, like, doesn't even really notice that she's stressed, right? And he goes to start playing video games, despite the fact that both of their families, both Brooks and Gary's family, are going to be there in like 30 minutes for dinner. And this is like, listen, I don't know of any person who like knows that their in-laws are coming over and aren't a little fucking stressed about it. Cuz like, one, these are the person that you love's parents, okay? And then also, in addition to that, bro, like if you're gonna have your parents there too, you're like, damn, bro, my mess of a family's gotta be there and interacting with their mess of a family. How frequently is that gonna go well, right? So homegirl's got a lot on her mind, I'm sure. Okay. And she has a fucking emotionally incompetent husband, or not even boyfriend, an emotionally incompetent boyfriend who not only couldn't do the things that she directly asked of him, but he obviously, if he couldn't even do that, he clearly was not going to be able to read the room enough to be like, oh, my girlfriend is stressed out. Maybe I should alleviate her stress by not acting like a fucking 12-year-old and going on the video game as soon as I get home. when I know that she's stressed that both of our parents are coming. Okay. And listen, it's clear whose side I'm on. Okay. This is not a fucking unbiased opinion. Okay. Um, and they make it through the dinner. She is clearly a little upset with him throughout the dinner. And they clearly have tension between them that we can tell didn't start because of the dinner. Like, this isn't like a today problem. Like, there is clearly some tensions that are bubbling over during dinner itself. So not only are you arguing a little bit, but you have an audience, right? And then once they all leave, okay, once the dinner's over, Brooke asks Gary to help her with the dishes because they both know that she does not like going to bed with a dirty kitchen. Okay. This is something that she is important to her and that clearly has been expressed before. Okay. And homeboy is like, yeah, bro, just give me like 20 minutes to play the game. And she's like, no, bro, I asked you to help me right now so that we can all relax because you know that I'm not going to be able to relax until this shit's done. So help me get it done so that we can both relax in the space. And then he throws a fit. He's like, fuck it, fine, I'll help. And she's like, you know what, bro, never mind. I don't want anyone's help that looks like that, by the way. Okay. And this tumbles into a bigger fight about things that have been clearly upsetting them both for many months at least. Okay. And it tumbles and it gets bigger and it gets bigger until Gary tells Brooke that he just wants to be left the hell alone. Okay. So Brooke is already at her wit's end because of the day's stress. Okay. Gary feels attacked because he wants to not be stressed. Also, her stress is causing him to be stressed, and he's not being an active participant in the relationship. And therefore, he's just trying to manage her emotions instead of being like, I don't know, what could have I have done to avoid this situation? Like, okay. Um, so once Gary tells Brooke that he just wants to be left the hell alone, Brooke goes, is that really what you want? And he goes, yes. And she goes, bet. You'll never have to worry about me again. And then a battle ensues, like a passive aggressive argument that spans for the remainder of their time that they spend living together in that condo, because they both want to assert dominance over the other, and they want to this part of the movie is very hard to watch, because if you have been in toxic dynamics, you know exactly what's happening, and you're like, oh baby, it just needs to end, once you get to that point where you are upsetting the other person on purpose instead of like sitting down and being like, okay, clearly this isn't working the way that we want it to. Is it something that's salvageable or is it not? Um, they didn't do any of that. They kept trying to nag one another until someone else broke. And I think that's the real reason why they ended up breaking up, honestly. I think their problems could have been salvageable. Honestly, listen, I actually don't know, because I am sort of currently in this sort of like, oh, we have an emotional incompatibility. And despite the fact that I know that you're trying your hardest, I for the life that I know that I want to live, don't think that it's going to be enough for me to be fulfilled, you know? And that's like sad, bro, cuz like everything else could be there. Like you could have great chemistry, you could have all sorts of like aligning values and whatever, but if someone is truly not willing to try to meet you there and be an active participant in the dynamic in the relationship, then it's sort of doomed from my perspective. Like it relationships take two people putting in equal like emotional effort, equal like work within the home, equal like it all has to be, it has to feel equal for both parties. It may not have to be equal truly, but it has to feel, the one person can't feel like they're doing more work than the other person. And once that feeling starts to ensue for at least one party, I think it's really hard to get out of that. At least from personal experience, I find it very difficult that once I feel like I care more than somebody else in a partnership while trying to interact with them, because I'm like, I don't know, I'm doing too much here. And actually, like any place where I feel like I'm doing too much, I don't know if I should be there. I want to feel equal with the people in my life, and I want to grow from them, and I want them to want to grow from me. And so if that's not what we're doing here, baby, then like, so there is this crazy like ego song and dance, right? We talk about that a little bit. I don't really have a lot to say about that. Here's why. I think it is very common for two people who really, really care about each other to feel slighted during these types of moments where one person pulls back, or where, I don't know, there used to be a lot of love in a space and now that time has expired and both parties don't realize it yet. Maybe one party realizes it, maybe the other doesn't, but that process of figuring out that there is a incompatibility, I think that can lead to a lot of pain and anger and sadness and resentment on both sides until the actual end of the relationship occurs. Because just because Brooke broke up with Gary, their relationship didn't officially end until they both moved out of that condo. And I think for both of them, hope didn't completely stop until they both moved out of that condo, right? And so that comes in waves, and that comes in like small actions on both sides, right? And so it's, they're small white flags, you know, like, and if you've ever been in some sort of like toxic, and I don't want to just call that talk, like, I think it's very human to end up in that sort of dynamic. I think it's, if you have not a ton of experience with relational dynamics as it relates, like whether it be because, I don't know, your parents got along and so you don't understand what other people have experienced in their lives to the fullest extent until you experience it yourself, whether it be because like that is the dynamic you're used to seeing and so breaking that pattern is really hard. Like, I don't know. There are just a lot of reasons why it would be easy to fall into that dynamic. I think insecurity is a big reason. I think, like, just not fully understanding what it is that you need from a partner also. And like very seldom do people actually know what they need from a partner, and that changes every day, right? What someone needs from a partner today is different from what they're going to need from a partner tomorrow, in my opinion. Okay, it could maybe generally stay the same, but human beings change. Our emotional states change. Like we at every moment are different, at least from my perspective, right? And so I think without there being attunement, without there being some sort of observational emotional awareness, I think it would be impossible to conduct a healthy relationship long term. And that emotional compatible or like emotional attunement, that has to be on both sides. There can't be just one person playing translator and then the other person just like managing their emotions. Like I think emotional people can be seen as like projects sometimes. And like we're not projects. We are full human beings. I don't want to. I digress. And so we're talking a little bit about the small efforts that happen when two people aren't completely ready to let go, and they both still have a little hope that maybe something could turn around for them, right? Because I neither of them really wanted to break up, but they understood that there was something that was afoot, right? There was something that wasn't right. And one of the efforts that Brooke puts in towards the end of their escapades, right? They're like emotional turmoil causing escapades to one another, is Brooke asks Gary to go to a concert with him that she had originally gotten tickets to for them two. And I don't know, she was like, I had gotten the tickets for you, and so I don't really want to go with anyone else. It's not that big of a deal. We've done lots of things together. This will just be another thing we do together. And that's sort of how she presents it. I think failure on her part is she's never honest enough with how much things mean to her. Well, I don't it's hard because I wish it's very vulnerable, right? I wish she could have just been like, "Hey, uh, he it's hard because if she divulges how much that means to her, then he can't decide for himself to make the effort. If she like hands it to him and she's like, this is important to me and therefore you must do it or else we are never going to get back together. If she would have laid that all out for him, then he would have had the like blueprints. And it's not that women don't want to ask. I think women do a lot of the asking already. I think what women truly desire out of partnership is being seen and understood enough to know to not have to ask. To be like, "Oh, I see that this thing is important to you, whatever that may be. It is important to you that I show up to you with you to go to this ballet, even though that's like my worst fucking nightmare to go to a ballet." Right? That's one of their big tension points of the movie. Is homegirl is very, very artistic, and Gary does not support her in those things. However, Brooke goes to every sporting event that he asks her to go to. He she is she I don't know, she's clearly not content, but she plays as his pet. And I hate to use that sort of language, but I do think that in a lot of heteronormative relationship dynamics, that men often see women as like pets, sort of. Like they do not see them as full human beings, even if they think they do. Even if, like, for the most part, they do. Once, once women expect men to do more, like, listen, bro, that man who's telling you that he doesn't do birthdays, that man who's telling you that Valentine's Day is like a capitalist holiday. And like, listen, is there truth to that stuff? Sure. However, that man is telling you that these things that will likely disappoint you, I'm okay with disappointing you because that's what I've decided. I've decided that it's not worth more of my effort. And if that's not okay with you, then, and it's like, okay, then be alone, you know? Like, great. You can be an emotionally repressed nightmare over there. You're not gonna do it in my fucking lane, bro. And that's just the way it is, you know? Okay. So Gary, listen. So Brooke asked Gary to this concert, right? She's like, it's no big deal, yada yada yada. Okay. And Gary accepts that invitation, right? She goes, cool, cool, cool. It's at the Riviera. Um, and I will leave your ticket at will call. So homegirl puts a cute ass outfit on. She's like primping in the bathroom. You see her get 2 beers at the concert, and Gary doesn't show up. I know, bro. And honestly, I have been that girl it actually so many times in my life that it's embarrassing. If I were to be completely honest about it, I have been sitting by myself metaphorically at the concert waiting for the man that I wanted to show up for me not show up so many times in my life. Okay? What I want to let you know about that is, one, you should never be ashamed for showing up honestly and wholly to the dynamic. Okay? That's number one. Other people's inability to meet you where you are, whether that be physically, whether that be mentally, whether that be however you need to take whatever I'm saying. If he can't meet you there, you got to leave the concert with your head held high, like, and that's okay. I think that was the moment that Brooke understood that she was not going to be made to be upset by this man this way ever again. So Gary gets back to the condo late after the concert, and he comes into Brooke's room and finds her sobbing in her bed. And this room used to be their room. Um and he goes in there to make some bullshit excuse for missing the concert. And it doesn't matter if it was the best excuse ever. Okay. He came in and tried to make some bullshit excuse for why he wasn't there. And she was simply like, I want you to leave me alone. There's not a single thing that you can say or do right now that's going to make you not showing up for the final time not not the moment. Like, once Brooke saw what her life was going to look like for the rest of her life, once he failed that last time, because it really is like that for women. Like, You could try your hardest, your hardest, your hardest for weeks, months, years. Like, women are resilient, and I've seen women do. You better go around. You better go around. You are not You're not parkouring off the couch. No, you're not parkouring. Um, Once Brooke made the decision at the concert, in my head, that's where it happened, where she was like, oh, if I try to continue this any further, I'm going to be heartbroken for the rest of my life. She can't unsee that. There's no way for once women see it, bro, there's no going back. There's no going back. Like, and that's how it is for me. I don't know. Like, personally, I've talked about it a lot. I stayed in the same dynamic that was push pull for like 10 years. Okay. I think once you've done it once where you're like, okay, I've put in work. I really know what this looks like long term. And I know that if it's not feeling good in this moment, it's only going to get worse from here. Like, the beginning parts of, and this doesn't have to go with the breakup, but just for y'all's awareness, right? And they were still just dating. Like, they had not even gotten to like the fiance, the husband wife phase. Like, they were still just dating. In theory, that's still the time period, in my opinion, no matter how long you've been together. Dating is like, I don't know, y'all are auditioning to be together. And he wasn't showing up there. Okay. He wasn't showing up in the audition. Baby, if you're not showing it in the audition, do you think you get to make it to any other step? Hey, I don't know a lot about sports. I don't know a lot. That's a lie. I know a lot about how sports work. I know a lot about how like musical theater works. I know a lot about band. I know a lot about a lot of shit. All right. You audition. If you do shitty at your audition, you get pushed to the back. You become second, third string. That's life, baby. That's show business. Okay. And Gary doesn't even really begin to get it until he sees her in that state. And I don't really understand that about men. Is like, what about women being at their breaking point is your moment of clarity? Why does it take a woman being at her breaking point to for you to finally understand that maybe there's a fucking issue here? I think that's crazy. And I think that's devastating for women because it just reinforces the fact that, like, I have to act out of character for you to fucking care. And, like, then women are labeled as emotional. And it's like, no, baby, you don't listen to me unless I'm screaming in your face. Why is that? Why does it take a woman to literally be blue in the face and using all of the Kleenex she can for you to understand that maybe you need to make a fucking change? And yeah, after Gary sees her in that state, he goes and he talks to his friend. And his friend is the one who finally gets it to click for him. And his friend does it by just being really honest with him about who he is. He was like, Gary, like, you're a real fun guy. Everyone loves you, but they know that it's your way or the highway. Like, they know that you're not going to do anything that you don't want to do. And this is the one girl that you really liked, but you were never going to let her in. And his best friend says it cleanly, just like that, to him. And he's like, what do you mean? What do you mean I don't do anything I don't want to do? What do you mean? It's like, babe, have you never self-reflected before in your fucking life? Baby, you came home from work and you turned on that PS2 before you even kissed your wife good night. Hey, baby, I missed you during work. He said, let's play Madden. And I don't know, man. It's just really hard. Like, it's really hard to be attracted to men. Like the affliction is not curable type shit. Like that's from Upstairs Neighbors, by the way. But yeah. And that's the moment of clarity for Gary. Was his best friend, the person who knows him better than anyone in the world, really being like, when's the last time that you took me to a Sox game? When's the last time that we did something that I like that didn't directly link to whatever your interests are? When have you ever done anything for me that didn't benefit you somehow? And Gary went and scratched his fucking head, right? And like, listen, it's hard because I don't know if these people are in, like, if these men are inherently evil. I don't think that's inherently evil to be fucking incompetent. Like, I think so much of the world has allowed men to be that incompetent. Because even like at work, bro, I'll be like, why is this acceptable? And they'll be like, well, they are just men. And I'm like, yeah, that means that they're human beings. And that means that if I'm held to this expectation, then maybe so should they as a fellow human being. I just don't understand the excuses that are constantly made for the male species. And it really, I think it's exacerbated by the fact that I work with predominantly just like white men. But it is really just so exhausting and frustrating and like dem- uh I don't even, it's like demoralizing. It's, I don't know. It just feels like demotivating. Like I'm like, okay, if these are the expectations of me and I get to see other people not have those expectations, then what's the incentive to be better? What's the incentive to work harder? What's the, because I'm never going to be forgiven that way. And it's just hard to sit with of like, damn, bruh, these men just really be acting like that, you know? Like, who raised y'all? Even the good ones are bad. And that's really disappointing because I like, for a long time, it was my fault. And I think for women, at least, I don't know, the women that I talk to, that's part of it is there comes some sort of awareness at some point that you're like, okay, well, I was the part of this problem for part of it. Now I've really, really worked on the parts of me that I thought I needed to in order to try to sustain or work through some sort of companionship, some sort of dynamic, some sort of relationship. And like, I'm still not being met there. And I I don't know, bro. I'm 27. Like, and I'm still having the same issues with men that I've always had with men. And I don't, I'm like, oh, it doesn't matter that I'm an adult. I don't think these problems ever go away. I don't think they ever understand. And uh, learning that, having to come to terms with that, it's been heartbreaking. To put it like plainly. Um and yeah, like The Breakup's one of my favorite fucking movies, bro. And so Gary, once he understands that like he's part of his problem, right? The world just isn't all, the world all isn't just against him. Like he is an active participant in the clusterfuck that has become of his life. He really starts to get that. And Brooke comes home with a man to show like art to him. And when they walk in the door, Gary has like a dinner prepared for Brooke and he has flowers for her and he's like ready to wait on her, basically hand and foot, when she enters the house with the other man. And he confesses his love for her, and he really makes an effort. And like, truly, this is all that Brooke has been asking for throughout the whole movie, throughout the span of their relationship, from what the audience can tell. Like, this is, in theory, everything that Brooke has wanted throughout their time together. And once she finally gets it from him, it's too little too late, and it costs too much for her to get there. It wasn't sustainable for her. It took too much, it took too long, it took her giving too much for that to finally come into fruition. And she said that no, she doesn't feel the same anymore. The condo sells and they go their separate ways. And it's devastating because two people really, really tried. And it, by the time that it tried to work itself out, it was too little too late. And that's devastating because two people really did put in time and effort, and they're both happier for it. They're both better off. And you see that months, years later, they give you some sort of pan, and they're happy to see each other. They run into each other whenever the time is right for them to run into each other. And you can tell that there's still love there, obviously, but not romantic love. Both of them, when they run into each other, seem like they understand that that was the move at the end of the day. That was the necessary thing that needed to happen for their lives. And it's sad, but incompatibilities are incompatibilities, and unfortunately, love isn't enough. Like, two people can really love each other and they can really get along and all those things, but you need compatibility. And if two people aren't willing to work on that together and be equal partners in that dynamic, then I think it would be hard to sustain something like that with an asymmetry that deep, So that's sort of what I got today, team. I don't know. I've been really dealing with a lot of emotional turmoil for like the last 2.5 months. And I think I just sort of decided to walk away from it in the last, I don't know. I It's been on my mind since my birthday, and I finally, I don't know, spoke my truth about it. And now I am going to refocus on all of the things that I love, all the people I love, and all my dreams and goals. Because at the end of the day, like, that's what's going to be there for me. That's what's always been there for me. And I don't know. It would take, you'd have to be better than the life that I've created for myself. And the life that I've created for myself is awesome. And I have people in my corner that love me and care about me and put in efforts to love and care about me. I think it would be hard to, I really implore anyone who, even if you are date or like you've been dating somebody for a long time or whatever the case may be, I implore you to make your life so full and so engaging that somebody has to meet you there and be better. I think the higher standards that you have for your life, the better and more quality things come into it because your standards are high. And it's okay that even if you're not perfect, that your standards are high. I think that's good. I think that it's important to be honest about yourself while also being like, yes, but this is my life. And so therefore it is my job to advocate for the life that I want. And this isn't it. And you need to be really unapologetic about that. So yeah, that's how I plan on being, is very unapologetic for the life that I want and the life that I know that I can have. So that's that on that team. I think it's my time. Okay. I love you guys very much. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will talk to you next week. Don't forget to wash your face and drink some water. Okay. I love you very much. Bye bye.